You're watching That Tom Clancy Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to That Tom Clancy Show. My name is Mr. That Tom Clancy, your lovable robot host. And thank you all for joining us on this lovely Saturday evening, depending on where you are, or Sunday morning, if you're on the other side of the planet. Yes, that actually was Elias Tefexis. Don't ask how I got that. Actually, you can ask. I didn't do anything like weird for it. I quite literally just asked. But yeah, welcome to the show, everybody. Trying a couple different things out this time. Nothing that is going to be hopefully immediately apparent to you all, but is more like things, quality of life improvements on my side of things. And then I also have ice cream, not like immediately available. There's a cat in this room. He would eat it. But for after the show, I get ice cream because it's going to be, unfortunately, the end of the show week. But we'll talk more about that later. Most important today is obviously going to be my two guests. They are the developers behind Curve Space, which is coming to PC, Xbox, and the Switch. Bits and Pixels. If you would please join me as I introduce our guests, Andrew and Jen from Only by Midnight. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Woo! I remembered your names correctly. Huzzah. At least I think I did, right?
That's it. I'm Andrew, and this is Jen.
Well,
Or Jen Andrew.
or that's fine too. I mean, however you want to go. But welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. As I was saying yesterday with Timmy working on Ancient Sky, is that, the wonderful thing about this show is I get to determine who my guests are. So I just pick the games that look cool. And then
I'm jealous of your role. Now, that sounds amazing, actually.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, nobody pays me. So that's probably why I have that freedom to just pick whoever I want. So, if I had like, say, a sponsor or something, sponsors, if you're looking for a robot host to talk about things, have your people call my people. But if I had sponsors and corporate overlords to answer to, that would be a different issue. But I don't. So I don't have that issue. So, thank you guys for joining us. You're in, thankfully, one of the significantly easier time zones to work with. Over there in Mountain Time in Edmonton, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alberta,
Nice.
Canada.
I've heard very good things, and you all have a dinosaur named after your province as well.
Yeah, the Albertosaurus.
We do. You're right. I haven't thought of that since grade 3, but we do.
I think about it frequently because it's a tyrannosaur.
It is a pretty cool one. Now I want to go down to the Badlands and the Royal Tyrrell
Drumheller,
Museum and all the dinosaur stuff. That was fun.
I also want to go to the Royal Tyrrell Museum, but unfortunately, as an American, I'm not allowed to enter your country right now.
Yeah, fair.
Liam, hi. Good to see you. Dansanga X, I hope I'm saying that anywhere near correctly. Welcome. And I saw you also followed me on the channel here just a bit ago. Thank you for that follow. Well, before we get started in the interview in earnest, a question that I really should be asking more frequently, but generally forget to. So what games are you both playing right now?
That's a good question.
We just this day we picked up Let's Riot. Oh, what is it?
Tonight we
Tonight
riot.
We Riot. That was fun.
We've got that for the Switch, so we were both playing for a bit. It was just seemed like a fun game. I think they've been working on it for a year. Just
Oh yeah, that was a good one. And then the last big one that I played through, Celeste, and just thoroughly enjoyed it. I could talk at length on how great a game that is.
I've
Nice.
also played Child of Light and then Hollow Knight. I'm just trying to think what else. There's so many good games out there.
And my go-to, if I ever have 15 minutes in between things, is I think I'm pronouncing it right. Asteroid. It's a little shmup on everything. I found it on PC, but it's on Switch, and it's just a good time.
Yeah, that's a great way to get me to try and play a game these days is put it on the Switch.
Yep.
Uh,
We are trying to do that.
I may have mentioned that at the start of the show. But in seriousness, though, your game does feel like it would be a very good fit for the Switch.
Yeah, it plays really nice handheld. It's good. We're parents. We have a 5-year-old upstairs, hopefully entertained with YouTube Kids, and like before in the olden times when we could all go out, I was loving the Switch for like that portability. So we'd go to like a play place or something like that. He'd learn and interact with all the other little kidlets, and like instead of surfing my phone, it's like, hey, I can actually play something. So I found
While
I was
also watching our kid.
well,
In
he's
addition
good.
to that.
So like
I mean, you
I
know.
yeah. No, it's good. He's learning. But like yeah, the portability side of it, I really was surprised at how much that matters, and what a great little console. Love it.
Yeah, it's peak Nintendo.
Yes.
You know, it just yeah. I mean, they just laid into what they do best, which is making handhelds. So,
Uh, I love everything about it except for the programming challenge of taking something that ran moderately well on a computer processor and making it run on a Tegra 1 chipset. That was fun.
yeah, optimization's not really my thing. Also, too, I'm just going to give you a little bit of fair warning here as a former quality assurance analyst. What's the word? Standards testing sucks. So be ready for that now.
Oh, we are, and we have a, third party specialist partner lined up for some of that as well.
Nice.
We have a bit of a taste. We're actually, our demo is on Xbox Live and it's actually still up, so check it out there. And that was exciting because we got it all lined up, got through all of the little XR requirements, got everything there, went through cert, got all that sorted. And then we promptly found out that it explodes on certain flavors of Xbox One X's and apparently LG TVs in 4K mode with HDR turned on. I'm going
Hmm.
with that's not a game logic thing. That's a Unity in general explodes under these conditions. So yeah, that's exactly what we want to see on this thing. Our first like live console experience.
Well, on the
But we
positive side, you found the bug.
Yeah.
and we actually
Before it was released. Yeah.
well before the game's released,
Yeah.
our poor demo got hit some of those reviews, and the reviews is kind of like game crashes, like not what you want to hear. And then Xbox is like, it passed cert, so clearly the problem's in your game logic. And Unity's like, that sounds like an Xbox issue. So meanwhile, we're like tracking down through our network, like, anyone have like an LG 4K TV? Like, come on. But we managed to track it down, get a fix
Yeah.
out. Xbox is pretty happy, and we got that together. And yeah, hoping that all these detailed requirements prevent more of that, actually.
Yeah, for people in the audience who aren't aware, there's certification testing that all the console manufacturers require if you're going to put software on their systems, and because is Xbox is TCR, right? Or have they changed it?
I'm not sure. They all have their term. Yeah. Like I know Nintendo, it's lot check.
Yeah,
but
yeah, because when I was working, my first game I ever worked on was Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, and
cool.
That was being put out for the 360 and the PS3. And I just remember because one of them was TCR and the other one was TRC, and it did not make things easy either way. But to continue on, so all console manufacturers have a set of rules and guidelines that you have to follow when you're putting a game on them. And to get certified for release, you have to basically meet all of them. And it's like there's some mundane things in there, like making sure that if you display a controller in the options menu, that it is the controller for the system that you're on. And then there's also things like I don't know what the standard is now, but it used to be you couldn't have a loading screen longer than 30 seconds that didn't have some animated component to it. to let people know that the system hadn't frozen up.
And then there's some of these other fun ones, like on the Xbox One. It has a suspend mode. I didn't know this because I play a game and then I like turn it off. That seems reasonable. Apparently, as a machine for the Xbox One, you push the power button and it goes blink blink, and then you push it again and it's exactly where you left off. I am not used to this coming from a PC world. I just assume that turns the machine off. And so apparently you have to trigger a little thing here, and I didn't know about that, so that was a good little catch. But at first you're reading the requirements, it's like, oh shit, I got like 1 second to like save everything and shut it all down, and I have to do all these things and panic, panic, panic. It's like, oh no, you just gotta call this one line of code and it takes care of it for you. So some are pretty good, and yeah, some of the requirements like loading screens or times, or you can't touch the disk so many times in a second, and like a lot of it's common sense though. Like game can't crash, which is
Yeah.
pretty good, and generally on fixed hardware you can test for that outside of LG TVs and 4K and HDR mode.
Well, then there's also the stuff that comes up too when you get a larger user base. And it's just no matter how many testers you throw at a problem, you're not going to be able to find everything. It's just not possible. Especially like, I mean, ideally, millions of people are going to be playing Curve Space, and you can't test for that because then what would that even do to your budget? Because let's see, last I checked, the average salary for a tester was $10 or $11 an hour at a million. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
You're going to get more eyes on it in that first day of launch than you've ever put, assuming it's an okay launch.
Yeah.
But the trick, yeah, you want to make sure that the core stuff works, that it's consistent, that the high pain stuff and all that, like we've really tried to make sure it's stable and polished and gone through that kind of properly. But I have a friend working on I think it's I can't remember which but like his explanation for games is it's like people complain, that bug that you really hate, how could it ship with that? It's like, you should have seen what they were racing to fix.
Yeah.
So our goal is not to do that, and have something that is, yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, under these rare circumstances, it glitched, but it's recoverable. You didn't lose anything. Like, avoid the high pain stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just there's so many emergent properties to code too. So many things like fixes leading to additional problems that it's just like, one of the major bugs that I put in for Mortal Kombat that I can remember off the top of my head was as we were going into our first certification weekend, we were running into a crash when you would complete a multiplayer match. And so they fixed that, but the problem is that they basically just pushed the crash further. So like, or further down the line. So it wouldn't crash immediately upon completing the match. But if you decided to hit rematch instead of like cancel, it would crash. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what exactly they did for that particular one, but it's just like kind of silly that they basically were just like, yeah, we'll just move it down the line. We'll let the next guy handle it.
Yeah, now it's a new bug.
Yeah.
You want the curve space centric story or the weird industrial story for bugs?
I think curve space for the purpose of this show, but I am also interested in the industrial one too.
Okay, we'll get the weird industrial one out of the way first. So think boom lifts, cherry pickers, man lifts. You see them all around town. They're everywhere. We have a VR simulator for that. That was the day job that I worked with. Some really cool stuff. And before VR, these things bounce, and so you want to make sure that you're not bouncing it too hard, or the guy could fall over. You could actually injure someone with that. So we had this ragdoll character like in the basket, and then we would bounce, and like his knees would bounce it too much, and then we'd break the constraints, and he'd fall over or flop. And it worked pretty good. It was pretty visual and fairly early into the prototyping. And then we had a customer show up, and it's like, we do a demo. Well, somehow we just recycled the physics vehicle, but so the character, well, he's this rag doll attached by his feet and attached to the controllers, and then it reset and didn't clear the original and spawned another one. So now you have two guys in the same space and time, but physics wise they pop out, and then physics wise, because of the thing, and it's got it like this right there in the basket, and it's just like everyone's jaws just like, didn't know it could do that. Sorry. So that
I,
is officially
Wow.
my worst bug.
I've seen a couple bugs like that in the past. Mostly it's online desync issues, but yeah,
Oof,
that's a silly one. Yeah, I've been on a genie lift before, so I
they're fun.
understand the bounciness of it. It was back in college. It's what we used to help or not to hang lights in theater, but to appropriately angle them because we had like the whole rope and pulley system to like bring down the bar, and then you hang up all the lights, and then the genie lift would go up, and you'd get everything appropriately pointed. I hated that thing. Like I understand that the bounciness means that it's like stable and that's a good sign, but no.
The big man lifts, like they go up like 130 feet, and it's cool. I love all of that sort of stuff. Like these are our big toys, and my whole philosophy was how can we bring like game mechanics and game thinking and make that like into something effective for training. And like really, like I love all of that. It's just anytime you're dealing with big companies with big industrial stuff, like there's just a level of effort that goes along with that, and it's fine. But you know what? Making energy spiders at home
Yeah.
with my wife, there's a little more joy in that. So that's
I
why we're
can
here.
certainly understand that. One, it's a lot more enjoyable for me. And two, I'd rather not think of the potential near future in which everybody is effectively working their jobs from home via telepresence virtual reality avatars.
That's a scary one. Although there's some good like I can see where that works for some things, but yeah, I miss leaving the house.
I do too, but like, I mean, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
Um, so curved space. Uh,
Yeah. So the fun curve space bug there, like we have a score system, a point system, and I got it fairly dialed in. Think pinball numbers, right? So like
mhm.
hundreds, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, play for a while, 1 million points, and it feels pretty good. And then it was actually Dan Saga here who joined in, and it's kind of like, so if you really get into it, your scoring system breaks. And the game kind of shuts down when you pick up every upgrade that it gives you, and it's like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
so we now officially have 64-bit scoring and a much more robust high skill end game, thanks to some particularly skilled players. So
Wow.
that's a very happy bug to encounter, I think.
Yeah. Well, uh, for our audience, if you would be so kind as to kind of tell us about the game, especially for people who might not necessarily uh, be familiar with it. Like the way I've been describing it to people as Geometry Wars on a Mobius strip.
Yeah.
Pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were playing that back in the day on the I think the no the three was
Oh,
it 360?
360
Yeah.
played way too much Geometry Wars.
At his old office, we would go
Dude,
and play.
twin sticks are they're where it's at, man. They're one of the most fun and easily accessible games because I mean, they've been around effectively forever.
It's a favorite. Like, and if you look at the things that it reminds me of, like there's a lot of Geometry Wars, a lot of Unreal Tournament, and a lot of like Steriden, all thrown together for what it is. But like Jen, what's the elevator pitch for Curse
Oh,
Space?
Curse Space is a twin stick arena synthwave shooter. You're going around all these really cool different levels. They curve, they warp, they twist. It's kind of mind bending, and you have to battle energy spiders. You can either blast them or lash them for fun.
Yeah, whole range of crazy weapons. It's fun, easy to pick up. Has some cool high skill stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like one of these. It's quick to pick up. It's difficult to master, and it's just a good time whether you're looking at it as a casual spider blasting experience or whether you really want to get into it and attack that score.
Well, there's different modes too. So there was like you have the story campaign mode, which becomes kind of a choose your own adventure flavor after a little bit. So you can go through the campaign and then you can go and play it again and encounter different levels, different experience. We're gonna have a daily run, and we're looking. There's an arena and a survival mode just to keep it interesting.
So it's
Nice.
our initial users were like, "Yep, this is pretty fun, but what's going on here? Why do I want to
Yeah.
shoot these spiders?" So
Well,
that
there's
was
spiders.
now we have a story, and it's actually
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
fairly fun story.
A reason to
Yeah.
be there. We came up with the idea actually driving to a writing conference. So we're in Edmonton. We're just north of Calgary, so we're driving to a conference in Calgary. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe transtemporal space spiders. And then we went from there
Yeah, that is an entirely normal thing for Jen to say just all of a sudden out of the blue
randomly.
is what about transtemporal space spiders? And if you look at curve space, you can see how that had a lot of influence.
Well, that just raises a really quick question of did you ever write for like Star Trek or something? Because that sounds like the kind of thing that Harry Kim would bust out because the writers on the show couldn't figure out how to like explain something with real science.
We may have watched a lot of Star Trek.
Yes, a lot of science fiction. Oh my! I spent about several years in Canada on Spec magazine, which is actually based out of all places, Edmonton. I was a publisher's assistant, so they'd get short stories that were like a lot of fantasy, some science fiction. They started in like '89 because there's all these great stories that weren't being published because they were just kind of they're good, but they were kind of weird. So on Spec kind of started publishing them. But yeah,
Nice. Well, the one thing, like the thing that caught my eye with Curve Space, and the thing that continues to break my brain about it, is that kind of Mobius strippedness of it. Because I mean, even in the first level, it's fairly simple. It's a disc that you can play on both sides of. Like that must have been a pain in the ass to prototype.
It went through about 4 different versions. I've been playing with that idea of the 2D on 3D surface for I think the first prototype goes back to 2008. Everything you see here, like Curve Space as a real thing, is really February 2019 onward. But like the concept went back, and to put some of it in perspective, the very first ones were like ray cast down and apply force with physics and slide along the surface and don't hit that edge too far, you literally go flying off. And we could do tens of objects, and then got a little bit smarter on the math and did some different things. We could do hundreds of objects, and then for this new version I could do thousands, which I thought was great. And then we got Nintendo Switch and back to like tens and hundreds. And this new system, on this surface we can do, I think it's at max about 120,000 objects, all bound to the surface, moving with physics based on a series of vector fields on the surface. And it seems like a weird way to do it, but like you get that, like it's a 2D game, and because you map to that 3D surface, like as things flow and warp and bend around, like it gives it a really fun feel. Like the laser, you shoot the laser, it goes straight in 2D, so it's fairly intuitive as it goes in front of you, but then it like wraps up a wall and down a corner, and that's neat.
Yeah. It definitely adds a level of like strategic thinking that you generally don't have to use because it's, as you said, it's a two-dimensional game. And, previously we literally are just on 2 dimensions, the X and Y. But now that you've added effectively like a cheat for the Z axis, it's, yeah, it opens up a lot. It's not Robotron 2084.
This is, yeah, it's weird. And if you think about it, like that Mobius strip, the 2D version of that Mobius strip is it has a seam in it somewhere. And so like it's basically, and like had I known some of these things when I started, I might have looked a little more critically. Now it's like, cool, I basically had to write the same physics as Portal, because you enter that seam, so a bullet goes through that seam, it has to come out correctly from the other end seamlessly, and all these things. So there's quite a bit of really interesting math to make it all work in kind of this non-Euclidean 2D, and then it works on the 3D. But one thing that I really wanted to get out of it is like there's a mountain of math, some of the most advanced computer science I've ever needed to get into, but all that needs to be invisible. It's a cool, this game feels fun to play. I go where I generally expect, and yeah, those spiders sort of flow around that obstacle, and I shoot them. And it's like the flowing around the obstacle, the loot, using the physics, the way they jump and dodge, the way you slide, the way you turn and aim. Like the whole thing is just optimized to like feel good,
yeah.
feel fun, feel engaging. And yeah, the fact that there's a pile of physics under there is great, but it's not a physics game. It's a fun to interact shooter.
That breaks my brain. But you know, I, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it breaks brains. It matters if it's fun. And
Yeah,
at least for me, it's fun. For those of you who are just now joining us, I'm sitting down with Andrew and Jen of Only by Midnight. We're talking about their game Curve Space, which you can get a demo of right now on PC through Steam. And then you also said on Xbox Live for the time being.
that's right. Yeah, both are the demos available, and if you pop in the Discord, we can give you a key for a little bit more content, but on Steam at least. But mostly, we'd love to get your feedback and hear how it goes.
Nice. Yeah, I just saw the number go up here on my little computer, so I just wanted to make sure everybody knew what they were getting into when they popped in here, because I'm sure there are a few people that are like, "Wait a second, who is this weird television head person talking?" Because that does happen more than 0 times. So, so is it just the two of you that are working on this?
Yep.
Wow.
With actually, that's so it's our baby. We've been poking
Yeah.
at it for a while. Hobby project started turning and growing, getting roots and turning into something real. We incorporated Only by Midnight last July to make it into something real. But so like at the end of the day, the bulk of this is myself on the dev side and Jen on like the marketing, story, testing side. But like that
Gopher of everything
that does a
else.
big disservice to. We've got some awesome contributors. So like shout out to our buddy Jerry, who's just his eye on some of the art has been amazing and has helped tighten up some of the art. Like our first Steam page was a dog's breakfast compared to where it's at now. So yeah, awesome. And he actually helped us get some real looking Steam icons. So basically, any of the art that is 2D or looks really awesome is probably someone else helping. And then the music is licensed through Fixed
Yeah.
Neon. So they have been great. And like, yeah, what a great soundtrack to have in there. And then a big shout out to our testers like Dan Sanga here, Gizmodo Sam, and everyone on the Discord. Like the feedback we've gotten from our testers has really helped hone it in
Yeah.
and get it fun. So like yeah, the long hours in terms of Only by Midnight is us two, but like yeah, this project wouldn't happen if it was just us in a
We've been
vacuum.
pretty grateful.
Nice. Well, special thank you to all of those people that you all just mentioned. And also, real quick, hi, Ashley. Thank you for joining us today. And Timmy, good to see you as well. Thank you all for joining us. Your game is fun, but you know that already because other people have told you this. But yeah, it's just, it was the kind of game like, you had mentioned, playing shmups as like your little 15-minute to play kind of game. Like a twin stick is my little 15-minute kind of game. It used to be Geometry Wars, and then I don't honestly know what happened to that Xbox. I've done 2 cross-country moves since the last time I played Geometry Wars. So kind of like Destiny has taken my 15-minute spot, which, like basically means that I sit and do nothing for 15 minutes and just look at people with cool armor sets. But I mean, hey, that's fun. But moving forward with the game, do you what does your roadmap to release look like? I guess would be the broadest and easiest way to ask that question.
Yeah, so what you see in the demo is a really good taste of everything that's there. There's a fair bit more content, like that's the intro. We've got this full story. It's got some pretty neat bosses, pretty neat environments. It's got a nice bit of replayability in kind of the single player campaign piece. It has a couple of endless sort of modes, like the sort of daily run, scrambled sort of one, as well as
Survival.
the survival, which is a little bit more of a difficulty ramp thing. It has a series of challenges. I think that
It'll have leaderboards.
yep, the leaderboards are big. A bunch of difficulty modes. Like so, there's quite a bit of different ways to play the same sort of game and get a bunch of enjoyment and content out of that. Most of that's there. We're just tightening up kind of the last little bits. Functionally, like we were planning on kind of wrapping up our 1.0 release in a couple of weeks, but everything seems to be running slow this year. It's almost like there's some sort of global issue going on. Hard to put my finger on it.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
And
Oh
so
God. That reminds me of a lovely Star Trek Next Generation meme, which was from the episode where Mark Twain ends up on the Enterprise because Star Trek. And he's as the scene where he's walking through the hallways with Counselor Troy, and he's like, "Hey, nobody's wearing glasses. Why is that?" And she's like, "Well, after 2020, we fixed vision because nobody wanted to say 2020 ever again." And I was just like, "Yup."
Yeah.
Real quick though, Brian, thank you for being on point with those links in chat. Boom, Mod Supreme over there. Sorry, Fictional Cat, but Brian's got the title today. So how about, you know what? Brian can be Mod Supreme and Fictional Cat, you're Ultra Mod.
I want a Fictional Cat now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Fictional Cat is one of my mod team, knows this stuff. And then we have Timmy in chat, who I'm assuming is my guest from yesterday, who's over in Halifax. They're working on a lovely game called Ancient Sky, a fellow Unreal friend. What was that?
Yeah, I think I've seen that on Twitter, and it looks great.
Yeah, the bulk of my shows are people from Pitch Your Game, and so it's reaching out and finding like silly games. Like one of the shows I have coming up next week is this guy from Iran who made a 2D rhythm platformer that looks like if you went to hell while tripping on acid.
He is a friend of mine, and I just listened to the first cut of the original soundtrack before this interview. And it was mean because first all the muscle memory starts going, I want to play that game. And it's awesome. I love his aesthetic, and I really am excited to see where that project goes.
Well, I'm excited.
Check it out on Itch. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it because, like I saw the GIF for that and I was just like, yo, this game is crazy. I need to talk to this guy.
Yep. Highly recommend. I think the same thing, and it's been great. We've been going back and forth, and it's been really exciting to watch his project and community grow. And I love talking to cool game devs, so I'm kind of jealous of what you're doing. And Pitch a Game has been great. We stumbled onto it as in our initial foray to Twitter. It's like, here's a hashtag of people posting neat stuff. Let's use that hashtag too. And then this guy Liam followed us, and it's like, wait, there's more here. And it's been good. Great practice on the elevator pitch, support what they're doing. Some really great projects out there. And actually, it's kind of funny. This last one, it's kind of like right into the middle of the Twitter party, and people are like, post your Pitch Your Game tweet. Your Pitch Your Game tweet. It's like, here, views, all the views. And then I woke up in the morning. It's like, congratulations, you won tickets. And it's like, wait, what? And to this, the indie
game business presented by the Powell Group has been really good.
What a great conference, and we feel so grateful to be part of that. Like when we were originally looking at conferences in time, it's one of these like we got some funding on the marketing side with Curve Space, all that sort of taken care of. We're looking for a publisher for our next thing, but like the timing wasn't right. It's kind of a little too late, too early, and we're like, maybe different conventions. But then it's like, all right, no, we're in this one. We had some great meetings and listened to some absolutely amazing talks.
The talks are on their YouTube. They're really great reference, and I was just listening to, trying to fit it all into my head here. It's great.
So yeah, that was probably one of the coolest sort of like little prizes. And Pitch a Game has been awesome. Just really nice group.
Well, I'm of course happy to hear that you guys had a very good experience with it. Officially, I'm like the chief streamer or something like that. I don't know. I have official titles that like I don't care about titles. They're weird. They're not me. But at the same time, it's like I'm just really happy to be a part of it because the indie space. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some amazing games in AAA. There absolutely are. But all of the innovation is being done in the indie space because indie developers like you two, like Crimson, like Timmy, like I'm blanking on so many names here. But you all have that freedom to try crazy shit.
And there's also a level of like the smaller your team goes, the design and programming and art, like you can experiment and be on that same wavelength. Like uh Serious Labs was not ever AAA, but kind of in that AA space, and they had a lot of pedigree from BioWare and that sort of structure. And like it's good, and especially when working with big customers, you need that. But like there's process has trade-offs, and yeah, you can collaborate on larger teams and you can get more stuff done on aggregate. But like the more teams, the more seams, the more interfaces between departments, like the more complicated it is. And as opposed to, it's like, hey, let's just do a weird thing with shaders that also is a weird thing with gameplay and a weird thing with design, and wow, that feels amazing. And so like I've been watching some of the stuff in the indie space, and it's like they're pushing boundaries in some really really cool ways. And hopefully we've added our entry to that, but there's some awesome stuff out there.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, the funny thing is too, you mentioned shaders, and it's just even from my personal perspective, it's like, you know, the last game I actually air quotes finished came about entirely because of I was trying to figure out how to light scenes without lights. And I was like, hey, emissive textures, that should work. No, it didn't actually work, but it made like this weird, cool little Tron looking thing. And I needed something for like Global Game Jam one year. And I was just like, well, I already have these assets and let's go.
I'm in favor of glowing Tron things. Although some of that was the background music while working on this had drifted very much into the synthwavey vibe, and then all of a sudden the game started like growing Tron lines on everything and neon, and then suddenly we had a purple sky with like a bright yellow eclipse, and it's kind of like, huh, guess this aesthetic has bled into it, and now we have a full synthwave soundtrack. But yes, glowing lines I support.
Yeah, I'll be sure to send you both a link after the show.
Yeah, would love.
Yeah, it's it's like 10 minutes long, but I'm proud of it.
Awesome.
Considering, yeah, I'm proud of mostly because I actually finished it. So many things start but don't ever actually finish, or especially you're touching on being a smaller developer, and one of the big strengths of that is that you can be agile and you can just try things quickly and be like, hey, I have this idea where you're a baby crawling on the floor and you eat candy and then you're crawling on the ceiling, and then it's like, oh, nope, that wasn't fun. What's the next idea?
Yep. Yeah, it gives you a lot of that freedom to try and play around with that, and also like to do some weird things. The next project we got cooking is really neat. Like that's an entirely separate interview, separate discussion, and it's not quite public yet.
Well,
But
when you're ready, I
when
know a
we're
guy.
ready, I hear, and I'm actually really excited to talk about it. But it's the what happens if we take some of the crazy technology that we've learned from Curve Space and combine that with some really really cool art, and oh, that's gonna be a fun one. And like we couldn't push that sort of thing in like a more serious business space. Like in some respects you could, but it's neat to be able to go out there and then kind of double down on that and make really interesting stuff.
Yeah. As we have all touched on many times today, even, it's just there is that freedom. When there's not like hundreds of millions of dollars lying on the line, like, God, it's crazy to think that video games have become that expensive to produce in some instances. But when that level of money isn't on the line, it's just, you can just do goofy shit. Like Undertale is an excellent example of a game that could not be made at a studio.
Yes.
I mean, what's the one that's the big Fall Guys? Another good example. Like, imagine that elevator pitch at like Activision. Like, so I have this idea for a game where it's like 50 people, and it's kind of like Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, and they're trying to get a crown, and it's like supposed to be really fun, and I don't see any microtransactions in it or anything, but yeah, that's basically the game. And then like Bobby Kotick coming in and being like, "You're fired." But
There's some studios out there that get away with some of that madness, but like you're right, be few and far between. And this is just more fun. Like I went into like in university, I was kind of like, hey, you're the computer guy. And I went into university expecting to be working at BioWare as soon as I graduate. That was my career goal. It's kind of like get into BioWare, make cool BioWare stuff. And
Andrew, I
somewhere,
think we're destined to be internet friends.
cool. I'm enjoying this, and like I love BioWare. They have some great stuff, but like somewhere in the middle of that, it's like, I ended up accidentally helping to co-found a company that like started to grow and turn into a thing and hired a lot of people from BioWare. And like after all that, so I've seen from the spare computer in my parents' basement all the way to like 70 people, floors downtown, fancy office, and like I've seen kind of that whole range. And now it's like, okay, at this stage in the career, it's like I know the business side, I know the technical side, I've got the right contacts and the people, and that we're doing energy spiders. And it
I
10
can't
years ago,
fault
I'm
you
not sure I
there.
would have predicted that, but here we are.
Yeah, feel like I've mentioned this pretty much every episode this week, but I have a tattoo of the SR1 Normandy
Nice.
on my thigh, so I understand. Oh, snap. So, you two know what a dab is, correct?
In the
It's like,
cannabis context?
no, like the silly like internet meme dance movie kind of way.
No, but my meme skills are unfortunately not that spicy. I'm a little out of date there.
Okay, well, you're watching me now. Pretend I have arms for a moment.
Okay, yeah.
So a dab is when you like do this. And technically speaking, you both kind of owe me one. Mostly you owe Fictional Cat one because he spent his channel points.
Oh, okay.
So he has a lot saved up. I don't know why. Oh, wait, I do know why. Because he's here all the time. Do you just leave the window open when I'm not actually streaming to just accrue points, Fictional Cat? Is that what's going on? No.
Also, because it's the other monitor that has the Twitch stream, I just realized that Fictional Cat is in the chat. Like, this is an entity and not just like, cool. Matt, the Fictional Cat has just interacted with me. I'm weirded out by that and think it's great. And okay, now we got Dab. That's a new cool.
So whenever you're ready.
I guess Dab. Yeah.
I'm
I wasn't watching good enough because I was like,
okay.
wait, Fictional Cat's real.
Yeah. Oh no, Fictional Cat is totally a real mod. All right. So this is left hand, right hand, right? So I'm going to be dabbing to the left. So I kind of like make a V with my left arm. My elbow is down, and then like my head goes down towards that. And then the other hand, my right hand. Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Okay. Yeah.
You got it. Just copy Andrew there, Jen.
Yeah, we got this.
You know what? Close enough.
Oh, wow.
You know what? That it's good enough for Fictional Cat. It's good enough for me. So.
Bring
Yeah.
my phone
That-
on my...
That got extra surreal because I was totally like Fictional Cat. It's part of the discussion. Neat. And now it's like, wait, what? Wow.
You know, I'm sure that if I ever actually bothered to ask his real name, he'd probably tell me. But it's more fun thinking of him as just a fictional cat.
Yes. I wouldn't want to know, honestly.
Yeah. Oh crap! Now you ruined it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. James can still be my ultra mod. But wow, yeah. I'm just looking over because I have my cheat sheet of questions over there on the other side, just off camera. It might be a fictional name. You know what? All names are fictional.
That's cheating.
A fictional James. Dig it. But it's not cheating to have cue cards. That's not cheating at all. That's intelligent. That's just a really good way to like run a show. I mean, SNL uses cue cards.
I tried that exact same thing in a college exam. They wouldn't accept it, but
Well,
for a show, I think
On your like hand, no kidding.
well, the only person grading me is me. So, well, actually,
I hope you're harsh on yourself, or not harsh, or whatever. I hope you, yeah.
Brian in chat, the cue cards are as prepared as he's gonna get. You know what, Brian? That's not technically wrong. Yeah, but it is preparation. And I did in fact play their demo, but I already told them that, so they knew. And if there's a demo, I tend to play it before I talk with my guests. Tend to.
That sounds awesome. And if you're going to make a point to talk to indie game developers who make cool stuff, and honestly, thank you for including us in that. Yeah, why wouldn't you want to try things like that? I think that would be the best part of this, is seeing some of these. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the only way you're going to know if you are going to like or not like a game is by playing it. Like there's, it's different. Like if I were to say I don't like Dark Souls, one, that would be inaccurate. What would be more accurate to say is that I am terrible at Dark Souls, but I love it. It is the best game I will never finish because I'm not good enough to beat it.
See, I have used almost those words exactly on Cuphead. I am happy to support that I'm happy I spent the money. I'm happy that this thing exists. I support everything that they're doing, and that I will not finish that game. It's not happening. But,
you know what? Cuphead is a game I absolutely wouldn't beat either. But yeah, so it's just, but the only way I would ever know that, like when Dark Souls was becoming super popular, I was looking at it and I'm like, oh, this game just looks stupid. Why would it? I just didn't get it. And then I played it and I got it. And sometimes when you get a game, you find out you love it. Sometimes when you get a game, you find out that you don't. Like League of Legends. It's like, I get that game. I hate it, but I get it.
Yep.
So, but
entirely fair. And then other times you get into that one where it's just like Celeste was okay, I think this is good. I think this, and then it started just getting great. And I'm still off the high of finishing that. I didn't bother to see if there were any sort of easy mode, assist mode, anything like that. So I muscled through that damn thing on Joy-Cons, which itself is probably a mistake. And wow, that made the experience better. But it's interesting on some of these things, because there's other games, Cuphead, Dark Souls, where it's kind of like, you know what, this just it's not on it for me. But then you get like stared at, and it's like, this is another crazy difficult game, and it's perfect for me. And you got to try it. It's kind of like the anytime someone's like, oh, I don't like that food, and it's like, have you tried it? And there you go. So
it would be different if a person was like, I don't like that prep, like somebody's like, I don't like this dish with swordfish in it because I've had swordfish before and I didn't like it, but I don't know why I even bothered to make that point.
I get it. I get the analogy. I'll just leave it out here that, like, I thought I hated zucchini as a kid, and you know what? I love my mom's cooking, but she does not know how to cook zucchini. So it's
Hi, Mom. No. It's great. It's great in chocolate zucchini cake.
Okay, the zucchini
and
cake is good.
Ratatouille.
But like, there's certain things, and it's like any of these, like even like let's say I didn't like swordfish. I would love to try Chef Ramsay style swordfish. I think I'd be willing to give it a shot.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to know that, like, in any of these things where you have a ton of media or a ton of things, it's like, you know what, that looks interesting. Give it a shot, try it, and try and see what it's about. It's like, you know what, this isn't for me. Totally fine. But it's also like I at the indie dev side, it's like the biggest thing is like, I just want people to try it, and if it's not their style of game, cool. I don't, but try it is the thing that it's why we have the demos out there. I've made this thing, and hope people like it. So
man, that was one of my favorite things from like the late 90s through to about what, like 2008, 2010ish, was demo discs with official like PlayStation or Xbox whatever magazines, because man, that was so fun. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
ooh, what new games coming out in the next like 6 months to a year that I get to play a small snippet of today?
and
And
I'm not sure what the industry wisdom is on demos these days. We've kind of gone back and forth. Our demo is part demo, part early access, part community
Yeah.
builder. I'm not sure, but it made strategic sense as we are figuring things out. But like, I like the model. I like being able to try things out, get a sense of it, and see. And then there's like the what is it? Stanley Parable demo, and that's just an experience into itself. That was
oh,
great.
God, that, speaking of games that break my brain, uh,
Yes.
especially like the thing that double like breaks my brain about all of it too is that it's in Source. And Source is notoriously poorly optimized with so many loading screens, and just the loading and unloading of assets behind the scenes has got to be nothing short of Herculean to pull off the relative seamlessness of that game.
it it's brilliant. It's one of those you look at it and it's kind of like, yep, hands down brilliant. Uh there's very few of those that I go like this is just such a
Yeah.
perfect brilliant experience. Stanley Parable is on that. Celeste, like the
Yeah.
whole mountain climbing difficulty overcoming narrative theme, overcoming accepting yourself, like the way it feeds into it is in that. uh some of the original Zelda stuff, like Link to the Past, is still on my like top 10 list, no matter what. Some of
Well, I
those,
mean, it's one of the best games of all time, just hands down.
exactly. Some of like the exploring the galaxy, like Mass Effect, is big on that. Like the look and feel of that game is spectacular. So like there's all of these, but like yeah, to pull off such a tight experience is crazy. And yeah, Stanley Parable, everything about that is just
Yeah.
brilliant.
I tell you though, I'm really hoping that Star Wars Squadrons pulls off that tight experience, because one VR, like I was talking with some friends about it just over the last few weeks, but that game is the video game that I have wanted my entire life.
Yes.
Because especially
VR.
yeah, anyone born before, like, let's say any nerd born before like 1988ish, like who's into Star Wars, has wanted to fly an X-wing for real, or in my
Um,
case a TIE interceptor.
yes, yes, TIE Interceptor. That was always my
Okay.
favorite. I
It
love
looks
TIE
so
Fighter and those
mean.
back in the day. And I like free space, the space shooters, like, oh, that's my jam. And uh, the VR angle of it, like, yes, really excited for that. I've actually, in terms of like some of these brilliant ones, I need to get our VR kit reset up after we got our basement studio here. But the in terms of like those perfect games, I'm surprised how much of that is on VR for me. Like the solid ones that I
Yeah.
play, and not just like great game with a perfect part, but then like some shit in it. But like no, like Beat Saber, Robo Recall, Super Hot. Half like Alex looks to be there. It's in my Finish Curve Space treat list.
Yes.
But like Beat Saber, like wow, that's
Yeah, I just played some of that last night for the first time in a while. Spoiler alert, or not spoiler alert, but pro tip: don't play that before you're planning to go to bed, uh, because then you're
oh,
just like awake.
it has a calorie burn profile equivalent to like tennis, so it's a good workout. And
um, if you
yeah, I
haven't already, I also highly recommend Pistol Whip,
oh that sounds good.
because Pistol Whip
Yeah,
kind of takes like the John Wickness of Super Hot with the
yeah.
rhythm of Beat Saber and puts them together.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I can the John Wickness of Super Hot. Like you finish that thing and you just want to like just yeah, mic
Ju-
drop. It's like yeah, I just did that. And
Super Hot VR is one, like, if that's the John Wick experience, because
yep.
once you finally figure out that level, it's like you basically feel like you're a god of death. I just killed a guy with an ashtray, you know?
And I would not
Yeah.
want to play that in any other medium. It is just perfect in VR. Same like Beat Saber. It's a you couldn't take that out of VR. the tactile, like ripping apart robots and Robo Recall.
I think Beat Saber could work as an arcade machine.
Yeah, I suppose if it had really good sort of camera thing, but like
Yeah, like I think it would have to be something like a DDR machine with like a really big screen and lots of room to move around. But I feel like if it had like a couple like really good like batons for a person with like a good rumble system to give you that feedback, like I feel that could work very well.
yeah, I
But
think like technically it could work like as that experience, but there's something about it puts you there, and
Yeah.
what I love about VR is that like the rest of the world dissolves, right? And like that was great on training. Like you're in a boom lift, and the rest of the world's gone, and you can just like naturally look to the side. Beat Saber, it's like you're there, you're focused, you're in the zone, and what I've loved about VR too, which is kind of neat, is uh, like elderly grandparents and friends of the family, and you show them like I make a interactive movie on the computer, and they're kind of like, I have no idea what's going on here. VR, you put it on, and it's just like I'm somewhere else, and it's perfect. And one thing that actually was kind of neat as a game designer sort of thing. Do you remember the original Normandy demo on the DevKit One?
no, because I
Uh,
didn't get into like developing and working with VR until DK2.
Got it. So this was like the early. It was on DK, but like it's the kind of the classic brick house with like a lot of VR sort of test stuff, the early Oculus stuff, and like I'm looking at it going like, wow, the experience, the perspective, this is amazing. But like technically as a game asset, it's like the water is a texture, the tree is a texture. It's very static. And then, but like I'm like, the experience is good. And then we gave it to my elderly grandfather who's half blind, and well, in the same way that my vision goes into VR, his goes into VR, and then he's looking around. It's like, wow, I'm somewhere else. And then what was cool is you start to see the imagination. Look at all the birds and the trees, and you can feel the wind off the ocean. And I'm kind of like, yeah, it was Tuscany. Yeah,
Villa.
yeah, the villa one. And it's just like I was amazing to see how powerful that experience was, especially when like 10 minutes ago stuff on screen just didn't compute. They didn't have that. And it's
Yeah.
just it interacts so naturally with how we see the world, and like yeah, it takes you somewhere. And so I'm really excited for putting that to the X-Wing cockpit.
Yeah. Fictional Cat says in chat, believe Beat Saber arcade machine exists. It does. You can get a like business license for Beat Saber and set up like I've seen them in Vegas and a couple other places. You can basically put a PC with a VR setup and charge people to play Beat Saber.
That is awesome. My cousins founded a little company, VR Cave. It's a VR escape rooms and similar sort of stuff. It's a neat one outside of this silly pandemic that's affecting things that touch people's faces, and yeah.
Yeah.
The public
Escape
VR one
rooms
is,
are fun though.
yes. We've got some really good ones in the city. I I'm actually really happy that escape rooms became a thing because they're quite enjoyable.
I worked at one for like 6 months. And man, if you ever want a job that is going to completely destroy any faith you've ever had in humanity, work at an escape room.
Yep.
Oh, there's probably a worse story.
Oh my God. What's, like, I made sure that I never would lie to people when I was doing, like, getting them set up for things because that's just counterintuitive and it's not productive. But I would always tell people, especially if they had kids, I'm like, yo, listen to your kids. They know what's up. And they'd be all, and of course, all the adults would just immediately be like, no, kids don't know anything. I'm an adult. I went to school. And of course, the kids all like, hey, maybe this is like a safe combination, or maybe this is the order we're supposed to do the keys. And then, like, of course, the adults are like, no, and they fail. And I come in and I was like, yo, you should have listened to the kids. You'd have actually finished this.
So the first escape room we ever did was a office party, which was a really fun Christmas party. And the room I was in was with a couple of our programmers. So we had a master's with a math background and a PhD in like computational mathematics sort of stuff, like really, really smart guys. And we failed the escape room because we got to a point where basically it was some simple algebra-ish thing. And of course, the two of them put their head down, and 15 minutes of them cracking out more and more calculus. And later, it was just basically match the symbols to the thing on the wall, and that shows where the magnet is that lets you get the key out, and we would have escaped. But no, no, no. And it's kind of like, I'm not sure that your average escape room person here needs to know like how to solve quadratic equations. But okay, got that. Oh, and now you're cracking out the derivatives, and yeah, yeah.
Man, I have a 100% escape room success rate because escape rooms are just point and click adventures in reality.
Although they put you there, and that, yes, but we failed two though. One was due to advanced mathematics, sadly, and the other, it was a cool concept. So it was a one side was a control room, the other side was on a nuclear sub. Oh, and I guess the other side was on like the engine room for the sub. So it was three, and they were communicating. We were communicating through tubes, and so you basically had the one guy in the middle. Well, I'm not quite sure how it was assigned, but the guy who doesn't speak English got to be in the middle. And so basically, you have like, here's 50 codes, and you whittle it down. So if you do it perfectly, you have a 100% chance of success, but you can kind of guess. And the wrong code sets off the nuclear missile and ends the world, right? Well, it's like, okay, we're running out of time. Let's start the guess. And it's like, you failed. And it's like, wait, what? And so we had that totally backwards, thanks to some poor translation in the middle. So yeah, communication.
It's very key. The key to success that I've found is solid leadership, because like having a person who's might not necessarily be actively involved in a task 100% of the time, but who's able to find the people who are like butting you, just bashing their head against the wall, figuratively, of course, because they get stuck on a problem, and being like, no, you know what? Why don't you hop over on that, and we'll get this person over here, because it's all about getting those fresh sets of eyes and stuff.
Yes.
And it's just, it's like working in teams 101 is the kind of the best way to put it. And then Chroma and chat, escape rooms in VR are pretty great. I've been meaning to try one. I just haven't gotten around to it, especially like, oh man, I'm just imagining like, especially if they were like a multiplayer cooperative experience, that could be really cool. Of course, I'm saying that, and there's probably somebody who's already done it and done it quite well.
I Expect You to Die is a great single player VR escape room experience. Really dug that. Their thinking is amazing. And well, that's what my cousins were doing with VR Cave. And so, like, just an example of how cool this can be for the escape rooms is like they had one challenge, and it's like identify the thing on the map, but you're on a space station, and it's like you look out the window and you're like looking down through the window at this planet and trying to figure out how, and it's rotated. And once you realize that, it's like, well, yeah, just because it's out the window doesn't mean it's going to line north and south like a map. But it's just one of these brilliant little puzzle moments that work for the medium. Or they had another one where it's like all of a sudden it's like flick, gravity's different, and now we're on the ceiling and stuff falls up, and it's just like, huh, this is really fun and different. And the 4-player co-op escape room is a really cool model. And I
They
hope to
had
see
like
more of that.
a whole room dedicated to it, and you could walk around, and you actually put on the computer itself, and then the headset, and walk.
Yeah, the Quest is transformative for that because it's
It's all
just
in one package.
yeah.
There's a company not just south of me, but like an hour and a half south of me in Skokie, Illinois, one of the Chicago suburbs, and they have a VR, like easiest way to explain it is like VR laser tag that you can play in like this big warehouse space, and you have the laptop on your back and an HTC Vive and the Vive wands, and I'm just like, I want to go down there and try that out. And like, I probably should have done it last year in the before times.
Yep.
But
I I want to really play those. I think that's we did the Void, where you have like the Star Wars or the it was the Wreck-It Ralph theme. It's a little pricey for the experience, but that was cool. The polished, and then you see fire in the VR experience and feel the blast of heat on your face. That was cool, uh, or warm, I suppose. But yeah, that like the VR as an experience is just so powerful, and I'm really excited to see where more of that goes. Curve
Same.
Space is going to be a neat one on VR. So like just despite having a background in making VR stuff, like we made a VR training sim, so like cranes, boom lift, etc. And some of the cranes, like 300-ton foundry crane, lifts a giant bucket of lava, like a bucket you could park a pickup truck in with room to spare, full of lava. Awesome stuff. But so I've got all this background with VR, and like, well, why aren't we making a VR game? And it's well, market wise, it's a little bit more complicated. However, curve space and VR. So there's two obvious things. First is you put that in a first person view, and that's going to be nauseating and awful. And I agree. Although some people have asked for it, and we'll see how it goes.
Well,
I would die.
there
But
are a
they,
couple design decisions that you could make, but later.
yeah,
You clearly have something else to talk about.
yeah. So the first person one, I'd be curious how that works for about 5 minutes. Then I'd be green and on the floor. But what worked really well, and so consider these one of those stations as say about the size of a like dining room table.
Hmm.
The ship is the size of like a large coin sort of thing, and you're stationary relative to the world, but it's the station is rotating and moving and around. And there's some nuances in how like some of the visibility works, but like it works quite well, and it's incredibly comfortable because it's just a thing. Like it's the table rotating in front of you, not the universe. You're
Yeah.
basically, and it actually plays like scarily well. So I'm really excited to do a. I think that's like the 1.2 release we want to do for Curve Space is the VR edition.
Well, that is, very clearly something I would love to check out. Uh, I mean, if you didn't know, I'm a bit of a VR enthusiast. Uh, so,
The
and
live motion capture is pretty cool. I dig that.
yeah, I'm working on it more. I'm trying to get a friend of mine is working on a full 3D. Full 3D. Everything in here is 3D, but like a fully modeled and rigged character for me to work with as well. That I'm looking to add more trackers to, so I can have like arms and things of that nature. And Chroma Snare in chat is a lucky son of a bitch because they don't get simulation sickness in VR. I generally don't either. There are a couple things that just get me. But yeah,
If you're ever in Edmonton, I'd love to get you to drive a VR heavy
Yeah.
construction crane, foundry crane, one of these sort of things. Pretty cool. And B, I know ways to solve that. Not ever having motion sickness. We have done so much research on how to mitigate motion sickness, but there's some extreme cases, especially oof.
yeah.
Uh, it sucks. Like at least if you design it properly, you can make it pretty comfortable for everyone. I actually went to a panel on a at a VR convention, and there's all this talk about mitigating, but they were basically raising the question of what if there's times you actually want to punish your users? For example, like in a safety thing, you did something unsafe. Eyes go. It's just like, oh, this is
No.
This is my
yeah.
nope face.
Um, your note face looks a lot like your regular face. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, no. That's why I put the qualifier out there, because like, look, there are a lot of things that I would do to mess with a player, but something that's actively designed to make them feel ill, nah, pass. You know, but yeah. Well,
Uh, it's. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, well, you guys have been excellent guests today.
You've been an excellent host. This
Yeah.
is so much fun. I can talk about this stuff all day. So.
You know, I probably could too, but unfortunately, I also still have things I have to do around the house, like eat dinner. Uh,
That's a good idea.
might be a good idea. Bodies require fuel, things of that nature. So, before we go, though, I have one last thing I like to do with my guests. And that's a little bit that I call the 5 questions. So, for those of you watching at home who might not be aware, and for you all who I believe I didn't even tell you about this to begin with, the 5 questions are 5 random questions that I have assembled prior to the show that have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. They're literally just for fun, and I'm only going to secretly judge you unless you answer something completely incorrect in my eyes, at which point I will actively judge you. So, since it's the two of you, very clearly, you both get an opportunity to answer. So, question number 1, T-shirts or polo shirts?
Normally T-shirts, preferably with awesome retro game or Zelda on it, because 3/4 of my wardrobe is Zelda T-shirts.
T-shirts.
All right. Excellent answer. Excellent answer. Question number 2. Do you drink your coffee black or with stuff in it?
Depends. Usually black, but it depends on the brew. Sometimes I grab an iced coffee with a little bit of cream. Sometimes just black. It really depends.
I'm a sucker for latte.
Okay. Like your answer, Jen. Question number 3. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
That's getting into some deep philosophical stuff. I want to say yes, because it is meat and stuff between 2 pieces of bread.
Yeah. Well, and then you can like jazz it up too, right? You can just have a hot dog plain, or you could add, like go wild. You have like onions, sriracha mayo. Yeah, I'd say it's a sandwich, just a different type of meat.
And the two of you would be absolutely correct.
I would say if I was programming this thing, I would program the definition of sandwich. It would be exactly what I'd expect. And then someone on the QA side would go, yep, hot dog is classified as a sandwich now. And I'd be like, yeah, seems legit. So that's how I shall make that call.
Well, I look at it like the all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares kind of thing, where it's like the hot dog very clearly, by being, filler, bread, and toppings, is a sandwich. It's just a highly specific kind of sandwich. Like if you were to say like a BLT is very clearly a sandwich, but a turkey sandwich with bacon is not a BLT.
But yep, I dig it.
So by that logic too, calzones are also then sandwiches, which also totally cool. And of course, hamburgers. So
hamburger for sure. Yep.
Question number 4 accidentally ties into something we touched on a little bit earlier. What is your favorite species of dinosaur?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, gosh. Cereal is a soup. Sorry, I just saw that in chat. I am told.
Does have dairy in it, I guess.
I want that on a t-shirt now.
I liked the raptors, and that's probably from my watching Jurassic Park and going, oh, those are really cool, like a velociraptor. And I used to like the triceratopses, and kind of out of date with all the stuff that they've actually found out. But yeah, raptors and triceratops.
I feel like I should say Albertosaurus for kind of like the hey Alberta thing, and they are pretty awesome. But like Stegosauruses are pointy, and I saw a really cool bit of concept art where someone had like what the coloring would look like on those spikes, and it stuck in my brain. So yay Twitter for that, and I got to go Stegosaurus.
Andrew, I think we are officially internet friends, because the Stegosaurus is also my favorite dinosaur. And
like giant lizard thing is like it's pointy.
So the spikes at the end of its tail, scientists didn't have an official word for them, but Gary Larson, who wrote The Far Side, jokingly referred to them as thagomizers in one of his cartoon panels, and that became the official term for the spikes on a Stegosaurus's tail.
Yeah, because it swatted caveman thag. I love it. Yeah.
So, just I love that Gary Larson in an offhand joke has accidentally named something officially for science.
That whole story fills me with joy. It's great.
Yeah. Oh man, the cereal is a soup thing has just really kind of taken off. Yeah, you know what? I'll go with cereal as a soup. I'm fine with that. And then Chroma adds oatmeal would be a stew then, wouldn't it? Yes.
See, that one makes me uncomfortable. The cereal is a soup. I want that as a T-shirt.
But
so
stews for a little bit, depends on how long.
yeah, that gets.
Well,
Leave it
it depends too, because my day job is I work at Starbucks, and well, not at the moment, I'm on furlough, but one of the things I like to do as an opener is I like to make an oatmeal, but instead of using water, I steam up milk. And I have taken to doing it with steamed oat milk. And so you get that double oatness, and yeah, I could definitely, it's a breakfast stew.
I believe it.
Good.
Also, interesting little bit of trivia: humans can be allergic to oats.
Yeah.
We learned that the hard way when my mom made our kids some oat milk because to avoid other allergy sort of things, and he's like, "Wow, this tastes good," and then it's like, "Oh shit, let's."
Or like all the creams for children, colloidal oatmeal, and it's like, oh, we'll put this on you. It's for kids. Oh my gosh, I'm turning red.
Yeah.
Like a
so
lobster. Oh my.
I didn't realize, but it is a thing. Go figure.
Well, it seems like your child has won the genetic lottery.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's a fun one. He is all excited about playing Hat Mario now, so I feel things have turned out okay.
Okay, yeah. I haven't played Hat Mario. It looks fun. I just haven't gotten around to it. So many games. Oh, hey, Rob. Great timing. Show's almost over. OG Vitality, there's my friend Rob from New Jersey. Hey Rob, just real quick, how many shiny Magikarps did you get today? It was Magikarp Community Day in Pokemon Go. And I am a very active Pokemon Go player. I got 2 shinies today. But I wasn't really trying. I've already got one before. I just was kind of doing it because, But question number 5. What are the odds of successfully navigating an asteroid field?
Oh, I want to say like 32,000 something to 1.
See, there are 3 correct answers to this question.
Asteroid. Okay. Are you talking about like what I guess competency? If you're asking us, oh man, if you're asking someone who's a pilot, my dad might have a chance. I guess he's a helicopter pilot for about 30-40 years.
I can't remember the exact number C3PO says. There's the scary answer of like 1, or like I don't know. If it was left up to me, I'd explode. So that seems more likely in my case.
And how fast are you going while you're now?
I would like to say that for the record, you got none of the 3 correct answers. Now, I don't recall the exact C3PO numbers, but they're wrong either way. The second correct answer would have been never tell me the odds. And the third correct answer would be basically 100%. Because the asteroid field is not dense at all. And if an asteroid field were as dense as it was in Star Wars, in real life, it would have coagulated itself into a planetoid.
So if I could argue on that one, when I said 1 for the cheesy answer, but programmer wise, I meant 1 as in 1 normalized 100%. Thinking similar. Also, I may have bullied a buddy of mine from like, you can't have dense asteroids like that because that doesn't make sense. And the whole, it's like the whole asteroid field, it's just empty space with like nearest things 100 kilometers away. What you do is you flatten that and you have the rings of a Saturn-like planet, and that makes for a really exciting space battle scene,
which they used in the trailer for Star Wars Squadrons.
Yes, I know.
I can't wait. I'm just so jazzed for that game, But Andrew, Jen, thank you so much for being here today. You were excellent guests.
Well, thank you
thank
for running an excellent podcast and being part of a excellent Twitter party that celebrates awesome indie games.
Yeah, I kind of derped my way into that one, but it's worked out so far.
Uh, ditto on the participation side, and I dig it. This is a great group to hang out with. Awesome podcast. Thank you for having us. Thank you for
This was
playing the
awesome.
game.
Thank you.
For anyone watching this, yeah, we'd love you to try it. Have fun, and if you like what you see, wish list. We tried to make something fun and enjoyable, and we'd love to share it with the world.
And Fictional Cat's already on top of having all those links in chat. We had Brian, who was had it at the beginning of the show, and we got Fictional Cat bringing us home. So a Fictional James is excellent at getting those links in there. So, well, guys, it has been super fun talking with you, but now is the time where I switch over to this camera angle, and I say thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to do this show for everybody. You all are great. You are a big part of why I continue to do the show. Of course, I also do the show because I think it's kind of fun, and it's also kind of silly, and especially now that I have air conditioning in my office, it's no longer super sweat-inducing to sit here with a box on my face and talk with people on the internet about silly shit. So, bad news is that this is the last show for the week. Good news is that I've got a bunch of shows planned over the next 2 weeks, and I will have tomorrow. I'll let you know the next Monday to Sunday schedule. But yeah, thankfully one show had to be rescheduled. Otherwise, I was going to be doing 12 shows in a row. So instead, I get to do like 2 or 3 and then a day off and then 9 in a stretch. So thank you all for joining us. I will talk to you all soon. Just remember, drink that water, wear your mask, be polite to other people, and what's a good movie quote to throw at you? As Wesley Snipes said, always bet on black. So thank you all for joining us. I'll see you next time on That Tom Clancy Show. Good night.